Hi, on this video, we're going to go over your timesheet. So we do our timesheets on Google, which is what we found to be the easiest way to do that. So every Monday, well, every other Monday, about 3, 4, 5 o'clock, you'll receive a timesheet like this from Cheryl. And it's going to look just like this. She shared a spreadsheet with you. In these notes right here is what she's going to tell you is the pay period and date. And if she has anything else to tell you, like right here, it says also a reminder that next week is Labor Day. That means our paycheck will be delayed a day because of banks being closed. So always make sure you read that so that way you know what's going on with your paycheck. All right, so then I would just click on this right here, and this will be my timesheet. Okay, so here I have a blank timesheet opened up. So again, if you look right here at the top, it's going to have Gear Up or whatever program you work for, and then your name and the pay period end date. This pay period end date is important. If you look down here on the side underneath this date column, look at the year that says 1899. We are not in 1899. And so what we do is when we come in here and put 9/2/22, that is going to change the date so that they automatically fill in. That is a super nice thing that it automatically does for you. Okay, so what we do here is if you look, we have time in, time out, time in, time out. That's like if you went out to lunch and you needed to come back or so on and so forth. If you do stay at the school during lunch, you are able to stay clocked in. So I'm going to kind of just show you a couple examples of how I could fill this out. All right, and so I'm going to make up just random times and days. So say I got here on Monday at 8 a.m., I left at 3 p.m. Then what that does is once I click out of there, this hours worked column will automatically auto-populate the total. So if you look at the formula, which is this thing right here, there it pops up right down here. This is an insane formula that I don't know how they came up with it, but it works really well. You don't want to mess with that. So you don't want to come in here and try and calculate this on your own. Let it do it for you. If somehow you mess it up, just come up to this little undo button or click Control Z so that way it goes back. All right, so then over here in this comment section is super important. Because we are a federal grant, we are required to document how we spend our time. So I generally like it to be 3 to 6 sentences, and they don't need to be proper usage with proper verb and subject predicates and things like that. They just need to be very direct and to the point. So let's say I make up an example of what I did for Monday. Let's say I created a training video, period. I embedded tutoring in Math 3 for 2 periods. I helped a student start FAFSA. I met with the counselor to see who qualifies for the Daniels Fund. And just like that. So very, very to the point, very, very direct. Oh, and we just need to know what's going on. And the reason why we need it to be very specific is because every other week when we go through your timesheet, I have to meet with the data admin to verify if you turn in your paperwork or not. So say on this day, I did tutoring in Math 3 and I helped a student with FAFSA. That means I have to have a tutor record and I have to have a contact log. UVU has made this a requirement that we do this every 2 weeks, that we verify, because a couple years ago there were like 300,000 hours of paperwork missing based on timesheets, which is a very, very big deal because we are that federal government and we report all of what we do. So please be specific in there, because I will go back and look at this and I'll be like, okay, they said they went tutoring. Is there a tutor log? It's kind of a pain, but we need to make sure that we have everything in order. All right. If you are tutoring in a classroom, so see how I put this right here, we need to know what classes you went to. And so I could have just said embedded tutoring, period. But instead I put in Math 3 for 2 class periods. We are in a block schedule, so that lets me know that each class is 80 minutes, which means I have 160 minutes in that classroom, which accounts for a lot of my time. So please include that. So if I just keep going and I put, let's see, this day I came in at 9 a.m., left at 4 p.m., 8 o'clock a.m., I left at 2 p.m. that day. I'm just making up random times, 8:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. Okay, you'll notice down here in this hours worked column, it calculated my total. So that means that this week I've worked 27 hours. If you're going through and say I came in at 8:12 a.m. and left at 3:08 p.m., that does get pretty complicated. Not necessarily too bad because it auto calculates here, but just round down or round up. It does equal out. So in this case, I would round down to 8:10. In this case, I'd round up to 3:10. Okay, try not to make it too complicated for yourself and whatnot. So then that creates an even. It does equal out because sometimes you round up, sometimes you round down. You can now see here that I have technically worked 34 hours. That is a good thing to know. So that way you can make sure, are you over hours? Are you under hours? Because you are allotted a certain amount. Some people have 20 hours, some people have 36. You need to make sure that you are not over on that because that is all that we have in our budget. So please pay attention to that. All right, in this hours, leave hours and leave type. This is where you're going to create your personal time, your holiday pay. So if you look at this yellow key right here, this will tell you what to put for all of them. So say I didn't actually work Friday. I took it off because I was going somewhere. I would put a P for personal time, and then I would claim how many hours I wanted to get for that. We get really great personal time. So we get 10% of everything that we work. So say I actually did work 30 hours this week, I get 10% of that. So this week I accrued 3 hours of PTO. So say you worked 60 hours total, I get 6 hours of PTO. So we do accrue that pretty fast. Just know that you cannot go over, I believe it's 120 hours. Once you hit 120 hours, then you can't accrue anymore. So be aware of that. So and then here I'd put, I put that backwards. Here I'd put 5 and here I'd put personal. And then I would put just personal time or personal leave or something. So what that does is now puts that 5 here. If I look, I have 27, I have 5, which means I have a total amount of 32 hours that week. If I wanted to do a holiday, say this day was a holiday and I'm doing Labor Day, then that's where I'd put Labor Day. San Juan Foundation has 14 holidays a year, which is more than a lot of places. So we are very lucky in that aspect. So as I keep going, I'm going to fill this out for every day that I work. I really encourage you to fill it out every day because say you didn't fill it out all week, I come down here to Friday, pay period's over. I don't know what I've done all week. I struggle even filling it out the next day. So please, please, please make an effort to fill it out every day, just so that way you can stay on top of it. So I'm going to say I worked 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. short day that day because I left for a little while and then I came back at noon and I left at 4 p.m. Here I worked 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, so there's 11 hours there. Now, looking down here, by the way, I just put myself $50 an hour for this example, so please don't freak out when you see that. I just use it for an example. All right, so here I now have the total hours worked for both weeks because this total and this total aren't going to be added together there. So right here is where it's going to do that. Here's how many I actually worked, and here is my leave type. And so it'll give you your total right here of how much you earned. And this is before tax. So this kind of gives you a good idea of where you'll be at. It's probably my favorite part of the timesheet just because I know, okay, this is where I'm going to be at before the end of the pay period. All right, down here, I just erased those. So reimbursements and mileage. It is extremely important that before you use either of these boxes, you get written permission from Lisa. So you need to send her an email saying, Lisa, I would like to request that I can go and buy this item and then put it on my timesheet for reimbursement. She'll say, yes, I approve, or so on and so forth. So right here, so say I needed to go get Clorox wipes today. My office is a hot mess. And here I would just put like office supplies, or say you were buying cookies for FAFSA night, then that's where you put like FAFSA night. Here, Clorox wipes, and I don't know how much they cost, so I'm just gonna say $4. And then right there, it's gonna give you your total for reimbursement. You must have a receipt, okay? We are required to report back to the federal government what we're spending, so on and so forth. So if you do not have a receipt submitted, you do not get reimbursed. So that is something you must have. Mileage. Every once in a while, you might be asked to drive somewhere, whether that's you're going to another school for training, job shadowing, or if we need to go to UVU to go to a statewide training or such. So San Juan Foundation does reimburse mileage very well from gas and wear and tear in the car. This number can change a little bit depending on gas prices. So right here, it's a little bit higher because our gas prices are pretty high right now. So we would just put our dates. So say last week on the 19th and the 20th, I went up to UVU statewide training. I don't actually know the mileages, so I'm just going to put 400. I don't know how far that is. Right here, it'll give me my total, and here's going to give me what I get back for driving there. So again, you must have approval for that. Once your timesheet is all the way completed, and it needs to be completed on this last day of the day you worked. So whether you worked last day Friday, last day of the week is Wednesday, you have to have all your paperwork turned in, and your timesheet must be completed and signed. I process our timesheets at 8 a.m. on Monday, so that way Cheryl can go in and pay them later in the day. So they must be completed. So you'll come down here and you'll put the date at the last day right here. So whatever this last day of the pay period is, and then you'll sign your name. I'll come in on Monday, and then I'll come in here and look at this and sign in this spot, just making sure that everything looks good. You don't have anything crazy in your descriptions. Like sometimes I get a little cranky. You can't say things like, I watched a basketball game with my students. That's pushing it. You probably shouldn't claim that on your timesheet. They actually get kind of cranky about having the words cleaning your office. A little silly to me. So if you did that, maybe say something like shredded old paperwork or things like that. So you just have to be sure that whatever you're putting in your timesheet has to deal with gear up students of some sort. So I'll try and watch for that. Cheryl tries to watch for that, just so that way it doesn't come back and UVU won't reimburse that. Because how it works is San Juan Foundation will put the money up first. We'll send it to UVU for reimbursements for how much we spent that much. And then as long as everything looks okay, then they'll repay us. So we really like to make sure that things are correct before we submit them. Otherwise, that creates a lot of problems financially for the foundation. So there is all of that information. I hope that made sense. We are always here to answer any questions that you may have, but it is pretty straightforward. Let us know what we can do to help you. Have a good one.